That's my bad boy.
Kovalev was older. He does.
Billy Joe.
Does. Don't get me wrong. He does have a lot of power, but all those guys that you name is not as skillful as me. I'm sorry.
Terence Bud Crawford is fully locked and loaded for his mega fight with the Mexican superstar Canelo Alveraz. Crawford has been preparing for his bout with Canelo by going heavy on the bag and throwing punches like there is no end to his power.
I feel I got the speed over Canelo. I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Crawford's training for Canelo is expected to be his most intense and focused camp yet. Known for his discipline and strategic approach, Crawford is tailoring his regimen to counter Canelo's size, power, and elite defense. Strength and conditioning play a crucial role, with added emphasis on speed, endurance, and core power to maintain effectiveness against a heavier opponent. He is maxing out his power and building his size to defend against Canelo.
Without the straps? Okay.
Meanwhile, Terence Crawford's shadow boxing showcases his fluid movement, sharp angles, and elite timing. Each motion reflects his focus on precision and rhythm, mimicking real fight scenarios. Switching stances seamlessly, he practices both offense and defense, honing his counterpunching and footwork. Crawford's intensity and visualization during shadow box reveal the mindset of a champion and his commitment to defeating Canelo. Crawford is also training alongside his friend Shakur Stevenson so he can end Canelo's fake boxing reign once and for all. Meanwhile, boxers and analysts alike have given their picks for who will win between Canelo and Crawford. Fellow boxer Shakur Stevenson argued that Terence is going to cook Canelo in the fight, and that the weight difference is something that Crawford will have no problem with. He added that Canelo is not as big as people think he is, and Terence's height is quite similar to the Mexican fighter.
I think Bud gonna cook Canelo. I think he's gonna cook him. I think, Canelo a hell of a fighter, but I think Bud just got all the tools to beat him.
You don't think the weight difference is gonna be too big of an advantage?
I think y'all make that something, in certain fights,
Boxing makes it something, not us.
like if this was like a Benavidez, he's actually a lot bigger than Bud, so that would like apply. But I feel like with Canelo, he's like physically kind of big, but like height-wise, he's kind of small. So I don't think so, no.
Corey, how you got a decision to stop this? Because Bradman and Boozy think that Bud actually might stop it.
Me and Boozy talked about that. That's crazy. Me and him got on the phone, talked about it, but I think that's possible. Like, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I think it's a possibility if
British boxing promoter Eddie Hearn reflected on Canelo Alvarez's recent performance against William Skull and its implications for the fight against Terence Crawford. Hearn noted that Canelo's age and diminished ability to cut off the ring were becoming more apparent, hinting at a possible decline in motivation. He added that this was not due to lack of passion, but because of the natural progression of life and career.
Do you see that fight now differently based on how Canelo performed against Skull, Eddie?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah? Oh, wow.
It wasn't just the fact that he couldn't cut the ring off. I just feel like the timing now, the age, Canelo is amazing. I mean, not just because of his ability and what he's accomplished, but the fact that he still has the desire for those training camps and those fights. But I just feel like that desire might be fading a little bit. Not because of his love, but just because of age and life. Do you know what I mean? And
moreover, Eddie believed that while the bout's magnitude and financial stakes would likely push Canelo to go through with the training camp with full force, he wouldn't be surprised if Canelo lost to Crawford. He said that Canelo might immediately retire afterward, but it doesn't seem like he would want to lose to Crawford and finish his legacy like that.
don't get me wrong, like the Crawford fight will definitely get him up for it. But I was actually watching that fight thinking I wouldn't be surprised if he retired and actually didn't fight Crawford, because I don't think he'll want to lose to Crawford, a much smaller guy, just because he's at the end of the road. But the fight's so big and the money's so big, he's gonna have to take it. I bet he retires after that fight.
Meanwhile, Canelo is leaving no stone unturned and is practicing his defensive techniques regularly by including rapid head movements to avoid the technical punches that Terence will throw at him. The same thing was pointed out by UFC commentator Joe Rogan when he stated that Canelo's head movements significantly improved after his fight with Floyd Mayweather. He shared that during his fight with Floyd, Canelo stood directly in front of Mayweather and took major shots to his face just because he didn't know how to avoid punches. Rogan further added that Alvarez significantly improved his head movement and defensive tactics after the loss.
When he fought Canelo, he was standing right in front of Canelo. Canelo was just whispering. It was a life lesson. And then you look at how good Canelo's head movement got after that fight when he realized, I mean, my God, when Danny Jacobs and Canelo's just standing right in front of him, bobbing. That's all what he learned from fighting Floyd.
Meanwhile, boxing commentator Jim Lampley shared a similar sentiment to Joe Rogan and emphasized Canelo's intelligence and deep understanding of the boxing business. He said that he had clearly learned from Floyd Mayweather. According to Lampley, Canelo maintained the ability to deliver exciting fights when necessary, but primarily thrived as a skilled counterpuncher. He praised Canelo's defensive skills and exceptional punch resistance, stating that no opponent had ever truly knocked him down or off balance.
Canelo's smart. Absolutely, he's smart. He knows this business as well as anybody. So no, it's not surprising that Canelo learned from Floyd and has employed some of that in the retention of his career. Canelo still knows how to make fireworks when he absolutely has to make fireworks. But at the end of the day, he's a counterpuncher. He's a great defender. He has the most solid punch resistance of anybody in the sport. Nobody's ever knocked him off balance. Nobody's ever really knocked him down. There's only one official knockdown in his career, and it was because he bounced off the ropes when Jose Cotto hit him with a hard shot to the chest. And the referee employed a strict interpretation of the rules and said, oh, the ropes held you up, so that's a knockdown.
Furthermore, Lampley continued to highlight Canelo's resilience, asserting that the only force capable of defeating him might be himself. He argued that if he ever grew weary of the discipline required by his career, he would lose immediately. Jim also showed his support for Canelo in his fight with Crawford.
Never been put on his back by anybody. He rides horseback every morning. His legs are the strongest in the sport. You're not going to beat Canelo until somehow over a long period of time, Canelo beats himself. If he gets tired of all the discipline he has had to employ to make all the money he's made, if he has enough giant ranches in the Yucatan, if he has enough beautiful horses, if he has had enough unforgettable dinners with Mexican billionaires in Mexico City and Vegas, then maybe. But my guess is he will retire without incurring another loss, because it's important to him to do that.
Which implies you like him against Bud Crawford.
I do like him against Bud Crawford, but I do think that...
Moreover, Lampley acknowledged that Canelo's fight with Crawford would be an incredible matchup. He also showed his respect to Terence and described him as a modern-day Sugar Ray Robinson, praising his versatile skill set and ability to both defend and attack effectively, as well as his fierce competitive streak.
I like him against Bud Crawford, but I do think that it's a great fight. Now, I could change my mind when we get closer. Bud Crawford, to me, is a latter-day Sugar Ray Robinson. He has the multiple skills of Sugar Ray Robinson. He can defend or attack. He has a deep inner mean streak that he can employ at any moment in a fight to get what he wants. Before the fight,
on the contrary, Terence Crawford is making sure that he is building up his strength as well as his speed, while doing an insane amount of bench presses and shadow boxing. Additionally, both fighters had their initial face-off before the mega fight in September in the presence of His Excellency Turki Alal Sheikh, who is always looking forward to great fight.
Here is the official face-off. The date September 12, Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. For the undisputed super middleweight championship.
Moving on, Jim Lampley recalled Crawford's bout with Errol Spence, noting that many favored Spence at the time. He, on the other hand, stated that Spence lacked the depth and intellectual grasp of boxing that Crawford possesses. Lampley called Crawford one of the two great professionals of this era, alongside Canelo Alveraz, and stressed how both fighters deeply understood the sport. He viewed their potential fight not just as a battle of power and skill, but as a complicated chess match.
Against, help me out here.
Madrimov was his last fight. Spence?
Spence.
Yes.
Before the fight against Errol Spence, there were quite a lot of people in the sport, in boxing media, who were saying, I like Spence to win the fight. I was one of those people who said, no way. Errol Spence doesn't have the depth and the intellectual understanding of prize fighting to beat Terence Crawford, who is the great professional of his era, along with Canelo Alveraz. That's why that's such a great fight. They are the two living, practicing ultra professionals in the sport. They know it inside out.
Jim Lampley concluded by saying that he can't wait to witness this outstanding battle between two contrasting fighters. Although he picks Canelo to win, he mentioned that it would be nice to see how Crawford responds to Canelo's power.
And one way or another, it's going to be a spectacular intellectual matchup of two great ring strategists. Can't wait to see it.
Neither can I. September is going to be quite the event.
Meanwhile, Rolly Romero absolutely trashed Terence when he was asked to give his prediction for his fight with Canelo. He added that the fight has nothing to do with skill or talent. Rather, it has to do with the weight difference. And it is not the fight that the fans want to see.
We got Canelo, we got Terence Crawford. That's going to happen in the fall. It's going to happen here in Sin City, your hometown. How do you feel about that matchup?
Anyone that thinks Crawford has a chance is a complete idiot. They have weight classes for a reason.
Too big? Too skilled?
Way too big, way too skilled. And it's not. This isn't a skill matchup. It has nothing to do with skill. It has to do with weight.
Legendary boxing trainer Teddy Atlas talked about the mega fight between Canelo and Terence Crawford at 168 pounds. He immediately expressed consistent support for Crawford, stating he believed in Crawford's talent long before the fight was announced. He emphasized that his admiration for Crawford wasn't reactionary, but he saw Crawford as special, possessing an elite level of timing and composure in the ring.
Now that we've had a week to digest it, I just want to get your early thoughts. Las Vegas, Nevada, Allegiant Stadium, Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alveraz at 168 pounds. Let's just hear your early thoughts and your preview for this mega fight.
Pretty much the same as it was a long time ago when they first announced this fight, and everybody thought I was crazy, which they often think. What are you gonna do? They thought I was whatever. Come on. I like Crawford. I like Crawford then, I like him now. I liked him before Canelo looked not so good in his last fight, obviously. I thought it was going to be... I just think Crawford's real special.
Moreover, Atlas said that what sets Crawford apart is his unique skill set, even though Crawford hadn't yet built the most impressive resume. Despite questions about size and weight, Teddy believed Crawford's unique attributes gave him a real shot. Continuing his breakdown, Teddy acknowledged Crawford's struggles when moving up to 154 pounds, noting that he faced a skilled opponent with an awkward style, which is why people may be doubting him against Canelo.
Canelo's really good, really good. But I think Crawford is special. I know he hasn't fought the resume everyone wants, but you have that or you don't have that ingredient. I think he has it. I see it. The timing, the instinct, the eyes, the ability to be chilly cold, not just cold and calm, but chilly cold, where you can see things other people don't see and react to it. Just, I know he didn't have a great performance when he moved up to 154, but he was fighting a good fighter. He was fighting a guy that fought a very difficult style at that moment, and he was fighting at a weight class that was foreign to him.
Furthermore, Teddy Atlas reminded people that Crawford managed to win against Madrimov and needed time to adjust to the new weight class. He emphasized Crawford's greatness, rooted not just in physical gifts like speed and power, but in mental toughness and background, which were attributes similar to boxing legends like Sugar Ray Leonard. He described Crawford as a junkyard dog capable of digging deep when the stakes were high, just like Leonard.
Foreign to him, and we had to give him a minute. Nobody wants to give anyone a minute in this business. You're supposed to be great. You got to be great every minute. But I gave him a minute to kind of get his feet settled at a new weight class. And he still did what he had to do to win. But I still see the greatness. The greatness is within Crawford. It's in his desire. It's in his mind. It's in his makeup. It's in his background, where he came from. That there's something about, just like a Sugar Ray Leonard had that something about him when he's a junkyard dog, when he has to be a junkyard dog. And with all the intangible gifts that I just touched on. Not just that the ones that we already know that he has speed. He's got.
Moving on, the fight between the Mexican icon and Crawford is set to headline what will be the 4th Riyadh season event outside of Saudi Arabia. Saudi boxing chief Turki Alal Sheikh recently wrote on X, "We have confirmed the promoter for Canelo versus Crawford will be Sela for Riyadh season. The broadcaster we have not decided yet, but the date will be Saturday, the 13th of September. More details soon." Since Dana White has already been announced as the promoter, the broadcaster and the venue for Canelo versus Crawford is yet to be decided upon. Las Vegas's 65,000-seater Allegiant Stadium is set to host Alvarez versus Crawford, but there are now 3 cities in the running to hold what will be the biggest fight of 2025. The Ring revealed earlier this week that Vegas, Los Angeles, and New York City were all potential host candidates. On the other hand, Max Crosby went on to say that predicting the outcome of the Crawford versus Canelo fight is nearly impossible, as it promises to be an intense battle. He mentioned that the fight could go the distance, but he leans toward Canelo as the likely winner just because of his size.
It has to do with skill. It has to do with weight.
That's almost impossible to answer. That's going to be an absolute dogfight. I have to go Canelo. I think he's a little bit bigger. And I think that's going to work to his advantage, but that'll be one of the best fights, period.
Knockout or decision?
Decision. I think it might be a split.
On the other hand, what came as a complete shock to the boxing world is that Canelo's longtime friend and sparring partner Teofimo Lopez recently revealed that he is supporting Crawford instead of Canelo. In a recent Instagram broadcast, his fans pressed him on who he would support in the Canelo-Crawford fight in September. He stated, "I'm going to go for Crawford because let's say he beats Canelo. I have ammunition. So when I fight him, I beat Crawford. I beat Canelo." While the takeover, Teofimo has had his former issues with the undisputed two-division champion, Terence Crawford. The 27-year-old seems to have turned his back on his old friend, the two-time undisputed super middleweight champion Canelo Alveraz, over issues with his trainer Eddie Reynoso. Do you think Crawford can beat Canelo? Do you expect a knockout or a decision victory? We would love to hear your thoughts. Let us know in the comments section below and subscribe for more content like this.